Okay, I'm starting with number 16, the second part of the review. What is the least common denominator of 3/4 and 7/10? Least common denominator. So you need to list 4 and 10. Some of you will see this very easily and you'll know exactly what it is. But if you don't, it's okay to list the multiples on the side, like we did in a previous question. So you can go back and look at that if you want. Number 17. What is the least common denominator of 11/7 and 3/8? So over here, I would list 7 and 8. List the multiples to find out which one it is. And once both of them have that very first match, that's your least common denominator. 18. What is 0.35 as a fraction in simplest form? You have to know your place value. This is your wholes, this would be your ones. So this is your tenths and your hundredths. So if I were to say this, it would be 35 hundredths. Okay? If you're still confused, let's try to remember this trick. Okay? Your decimal would serve as the 1. And then you would fill in with zeros underneath your fraction, or your decimal, because we're turning it into a fraction. So it would be 35 hundredths, but now you have to simplify that. Simplify means to divide each number by another number to make it smaller. So I noticed that 5 and 0 are on the end, so I know 5 can go into those. Simplify until you get the smallest fraction. Number 19. Select the number that belongs to a set of rational numbers but does not belong to the set of whole numbers and integers. There was a chart in your composition book that we talked about the number system. And it's supposed to have multiple choice here, but it doesn't. So I'm going to let you look at this. May not be exactly what you had, but you have a natural number, whole numbers, integers, rational numbers. Okay, so we want to pick a number that's going to be in the rational number, but not in the whole number or integers. Okay, you should have something that looks almost like this in your notebook. I'm going to give you a list of numbers, and you're going to write down on your paper which one you can pick, okay, to be a rational number, but not a whole number or an integer. So the numbers you can choose from is -4, 1/2, 5, or 0. One of those does not belong in a whole number, and it does not belong in integers. It's considered a rational number only. Look at your chart that you have in your composition book. Or go back and look at the chart I showed on the screen. Okay, 20. Aaron practiced the piano for 1 1/3 hour on Monday, 5/6 hour on Tuesday. How much did he practice in all on the 2 days? So I'm just combining the 2 days, I'm adding the fractions. So 1 1/3 plus 5/6. Remember, when you're adding and subtracting fractions, you must find a common denominator. I always ask, does the smallest number go into the larger number? and this one does. So I'm going to change everything I know to 6. 3 times what gave me 6? 3 times 2. So whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So 2 times 1 is 2. So now that I got my common denominator, I have to do the C trick. Okay, so that would be 6 times 1 plus 2 over 6 plus 5 over 6. Then you're going to get an improper fraction. Improper fraction is when the numerator is larger than your denominator. So then you're going to have to divide your answer to get the answer, if that makes sense. I'm trying to help you without giving you the answers. Okay. I'm doing the best I can. Okay, number 21. Negative 7/8 divided by 5/6. Remember, on fractions, when we're dividing them, we keep the first one, we leave it alone, change the sign, and flip the next fraction. Okay? So now all you're doing is multiplying across. Again, it's going to be improper. This one's going to be larger than this one. So you're going to need to show your division to get your answer in simplest form. Please make sure it's in simplest form. $21. Oh, nope, that was 21, right? We're on 22. Reggie jogged 2.5 times around the perimeter of a neighborhood. The perimeter of the neighborhood is 2 1/4 kilometers long. How far did he jog? So 2.5 times around 2 1/4. You're going to multiply that. But for whatever reason, hold that thought. Okay, work on that one. 23. Order the lengths of 1/4, 5/10, 10/25. All these are inches. From least to greatest. You're going to need to change these into decimals. Okay, so this one would be 10 divided by 25 to get your decimal. And I hope you all know what 1/4 is. In a decimal form. Think of your money. There's 4 quarters in a dollar. So what would 1/4 be? It would be 0.25. 25 cents. So all you really need to do is solve this one. And then list them from least to greatest. Least to greatest. Once you have them all converted to decimals, I would put your least one on here, your greatest one on here, and that way the other one will fall right in the middle. Okay? Least to greatest. 23. Okay, 24. Again, we're going to find the perimeter of the triangle. So that's 3 1/2 plus 5 2/3 plus 4 1/6. Again, common denominator because we're adding, it's going to be 6. 3 goes into 6, 2 goes into 6. So I'm going to rewrite everything that I know I'm going to change. And that one's not changing. I multiplied 2 times 3 to get 6. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. I multiplied 3 times 2 to get 6. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. Now then, you have to do the C trick. So you'll have 6 times 3 plus 3 over 6. 6 times 5 plus 4 over 6. 6 times 4 plus 1 over 6. You'll have your answer. Again, it will be improper. That means the numerator is larger than your denominator. When it's improper, you have to make it into a mixed number. A mixed number. 25. Write each decimal as a fraction or mixed number in simplest form. So you have a negative 0.02. I'm going to tell you a test-taking strategy. You see this negative right here? That's going to stay with your answer. So you're going to have a negative fraction. You can eliminate 2 choices by simply noticing that negative sign. You can eliminate C and D because those are positives. And if you remember, this was your tenths, this was your hundredths. So you need to write it as 2 1/100ths. If you forget, remember the decimal serves as your 1, and then you fill in the zeros. But you have to simplify that. Okay? 26. You have 68.25. You're going to do it in a fraction. You know this number is not going to change. That eliminates A. 68 is going to be your whole number. 25.25. Okay, remember 25 hundredths. Okay, 25 hundredths. If you forget how to do it, always put the 1 under the decimal and then fill in the spots. But you want simplest form. Reduce, reduce, reduce. Show your work. We're almost done. 27. These on the last page are very difficult. I want you to really try hard on these. I'm going to help you set them up. It takes Mara 50 minutes to walk to her friend's house, 1 2/3 miles away. What is her walking pace in miles per hour? Okay, she is walking 1 2/3 miles. Divide that by the hours. Remember, in hours, she walked for 50 minutes. But how many minutes are in an hour? 60. Do the C trick. 3 times 1 plus 2 over 3 divided by this. When you solve this, remember, bring it down. When you bring it down, I want you to keep this one, leave it alone after you've solved it, change it, flip it. Okay? So change it, flip it. And then it's going to be improper, so you're going to have to solve over here in the simplest form. Okay, 28. A restaurant had 3 pies cut into 8s. So I had 3 full pies. Each pie had 8 pieces. Okay, that's part of my puzzle right there. So I had 24 pieces in all. By noon, 3/4 of all the pieces were sold. So 3/4 of all the pieces were sold. How many pieces of the pie were sold by noon? So I need to find out what is 3/4. Okay, remember when I show you these, this is the only way I solve them. There's more than one way. If you have another way to solve it, that's great. But I'm a very visual person, and I always think it out. Okay, so I need to know what is a fourth. What is 1/4? So in my logic, I'm thinking, okay, there's 24 pieces, and I want to know what 1/4 is. How many pieces of pie equal 1/4? Well, that's 6. So 6 pieces equal 1/4. But how many did it say sold? 3/4 of the pieces were sold. So I need to multiply this by 3 to find out how many pieces were sold by noon. I may be totally confusing you. Like I said, this is just the way I visualize things. As long as you solve it and you can answer how you got it, that's all we care about. But I found the pieces, then I found out what equaled 1/4. But remember, in the question it asked, 3/4 of all the pieces were sold. So if you divide things up into 4, this would be 6, 6, 6, and 6. We kind of did the modeling at the beginning of school too. So by noon, I had 3/4 sold. It's just another way to model it. Okay? It's just another way to model it. Some of you may not need the visuals. Some people may understand it better as the visuals. Just showing you different ways. So we go to 29. You have a negative 10 over 15 is what to negative 5 over 14. You're going to have to find a common denominator. So you can either list your multiples of 15 and 14 to see which one comes up first. Or you can just multiply them together. Find your common denominator, and then you decide, is it less than, greater than, or equal to? And the last one, a recipe calls for 2 3/4 cup of milk. The recipe is now tripled. How much milk do I need? If I'm going to make it 3 times, I need to multiply it by 3. So you need to do the seed trick and multiply it by your 3. So 4 times 2 plus 3 over 4 times 3 over 1. It's going to be improper. You're going to have to change it. If you have any questions, we'll be in at 7:15 in the morning.